Welcome to Personal Mastery Training. I'm your host, Alvin Brown, former world class athlete turned entrepreneur and consultant. Join us as we learn from guests who have conquered their inner battles and share their journeys to success. Get ready for inspirational masterclasses and thought provoking strategy sessions to fuel your path to personal mastery. Let's dive in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mastery Alliance, Personal Mastery Training. And let's just call it our breakfast, our Sunday breakfast. And as I'm always saying, if it's your first time listening, someone brings, we serve soul food here. So I hope you're into some soul food because what we do is someone brings the main meal and the rest of us, we kind of cook it together and we serve it to you. And the beauty of this meal is everyone gets fed. The goal is everyone gets fed, everyone gets full and nourished to the soul for this to start their Sunday, start their week off. But by the time you listen to this, it'll be on the end of a week. It'll be Thursday. It drops on a Thursday. So we hope you savor it for the rest of the week. All right. So my guests, my co-partners, my co-presenters in this meal, we're missing one, but we have Dr. Charlie Cartwright and Ray Janoc Tanier, and we're going to bring it to you. Here we go. So what we do is we choose a topic. We have an interesting topic today, and I'm going to let Dr. Charlie present the main meal, and Ray and I will add some spice to it. So let's get into it. Let's get into it a little bit. Here we go. Dr. Charlie Cartwright, let them know what you brought.
Yeah, so today was really woke up this morning thinking about, what would be an awesome topic to talk about and something that we all have in common, that we all have a challenge to overcome, and that is the naysayers or the haters, right? What do we do about that? How do we process that? What's the best approach to attack that? And it's an interesting thing because there are people either with good intent or otherwise that want to give us advice and sometimes feel like they know what direction our life should go better than us or what our capabilities are better than us. And if you really look at history, you'll see that many successful people, many successful groups had to overcome what naysayers were trying to impose on them, right? For instance, from this, there's so many great examples, but this is a for instance. Everyone knows that the Beatles are arguably the greatest band of all time. If they're not the greatest, they're in the conversation, right? They're in the top 1, 2, 3. And there was a record company that turned them down when they were first starting out and said they had no future in music. The Beatles, someone said that to it's mind blowing to that. They told the Beatles, go home, but they didn't do it, right? They persevered, they believed in their vision, they believed in who they were, and the rest is history. But I really believe that so many people get turned away from their greatness, turned away from their personal mastery because they let the words and actions of naysayers get into their consciousness and derail their best efforts. And so I'll kick it off with that, and with that, I'll pass the mic.
You know what? There's a saying I always kept in my mind. One of our coaches used to say that, my football coaches, football coaches slash philosophers slash, I don't know, but they used to say a lot of deep stuff. And they said, always smile, because your haters hate that. It just makes them crazy. Always smile. And this is fairly simple, but when you really look at it, it's a lot deeper than it looks like, because as you said, in life there will always be naysayers. Okay, certain people say Michael Jordan was trash, as a basketball player. Certain people are saying LeBron James is trash. So there's really this big conversation right now between LeBron James versus Michael Jordan, and we're talking about arguably the top two, top three best basketball players of all time, and they still never arrive, in the eyes of certain people. So what can you do and yeah, and you smile, you let your greatness out. You keep excelling every single day. And that's also part of the process. And I think, thank God for haters one way or another, because we do need to kind of find something to also keep us level headed, to keep us humble, no matter what we accomplish. As Alvin always says, I believe you've been 30 years with Susie, correct? 30 years?
40, 40 this
40 years.
year.
40 years, right? And no matter what you built in these 40 years,
Yeah.
our one mistake, one mistake could change all of that. Right.
Mhm.
So you show up every single day. You
Mhm.
show up every single day with the best intentions. You show up every single day with as the best version of yourself. And that's really the only thing that matters in the end. All the other stuff is great, but all the other stuff doesn't make you who you are today. You decide that.
Mhm.
Your thoughts influence that. Your actions dictate that. And I believe, by starting with a smile before anything else, you step into this state that can influence everything else. You shine for yourself, but also these haters, one way or another, they can't help but to recognize. They can't help but to maybe hate even more. But in the end, maybe you have something that they truly want. Maybe you inspired them in a certain way. They simply haven't looked in the mirror yet, or cannot look in the mirror to see their own greatness. So that would be my first thing, just to start off. Hey, start by smiling and being truly, truly, truly blessed that you can just live your life and strive towards your personal greatness every single day. And I'll pass
Yes.
the mic.
All right, all right. Meaty, meaty. Did you bring any carbs? Because this is all protein, man. This is meat.
Mhm.
All right, because this is some meaty stuff. Here it is. Here it is. Naysayers and haters. My podcast 201, just a couple of few podcasts ago, not long ago, I talked to a young man, Sam Dema. And in that podcast, I've known him since he was 18 years old. I think he's 22 now, 21 or 22 now. And he had a soccer career and he wanted to be a big soccer guy. And anyways, it didn't work out. Soccer didn't work out. Knee injury and so on and so on. Redirected. But instead of giving up, this young man decided, you know what, I want to somehow, through serendipity and various things, he decided to let me make an impact. A coach, as you said, Ray, a coach or a teacher, for him, said a few words, it changed his life. So, anyways, he started to take small actions, and next thing you know, he's doing this thing. So I remember watching when he was very young, and when he was starting out, and he used to do this thing he called a Riz walk. This little walk he did, and because Riz in the slang is your charisma. So he'd do this walk, and it was a joke. He was making fun with it, and just something to make the audience laugh. The first time I ever heard it was him doing it on his, locally. He did it here. Then he started getting on big stages. He started to become a youth speaker, being known as a youth speaker, going out there. And this kid I've never met many people who are so focused and disciplined like him. So he wrote a book, uh, Empty Your Knapsack, and he went out there and started doing his thing, started making an impact. He's growing, audience is growing. And this guy, man, he was so resourceful. He found ways of getting himself into schools, and now the schools are hiring him, and he's going, he's growing. So he posts this Riz walk, innocent little Riz walk, charisma. He was just making a little joke. Somehow this Riz walk turned into haters coming on board and saying, "Hey, you're trying to groom young girls. You shouldn't be allowed to go in school. You shouldn't be." So, because he woke up to see his video of the Riz walk blew up at like 1 point odd million. He said, "Yes, he made it." And then even I went on and went, "Wow, why is this thing popping up all over?" And I saw his views; they were up there. I'm like, then I started reading the comments myself. And I see people on there going, "Oh, you shouldn't be allowed in school. You should be kept away from the school. Ban this guy. He's not, he's trying to groom young girls. He's a pedophile. He's Somehow, I don't know how this thing turned into him being a pedophile. But so they said then he gets a private message said you should kill yourself. You should do all these things. So you'll hear it in the audio in the podcast I did with him. Because now he's like 21 years old, right? 22, somewhere in there. And he says, I felt it hit me hard, obviously. It hit him hard, to wake up and see he's out for really great intentions. I know the man. He's a good heart, great intentions, no ego, good intentions. Wrote this book, want to help because he heard some young boy want to, kill himself and suicide. And so he decided this passionate thing. But here is this thing. Yeah, you're grooming young girls and kids. You should stay away. Oh my goodness. What? Trying to ruin his career. The worst part is he said one of the haters was a neighbor of his literally across the street from him. So what did he do? He started to, after, getting the initial cut, it hurt. But he started to look at it as, okay, you know what? You're spreading my message. All these people are, because a lot of people will tune in because it is gossip and bad news. So they started to tune in, but then some started to get a hold of his message. And so he started to leverage it and he used it. Right now, as we speak, I don't know if he's there right now as we speak, 100%, but last week he was in Africa. He got invited to Africa to speak on the continent of Africa to speak. And he got an award. And, so again, what if he made it stop him? The higher you climb up that ladder, and this is why, and here's the things I wrote. One of my best poems that I repeat to people, I made my kids memorize this poem as we were growing up, just to repeat it, and they know it like the back of their hand. If I start it, they know it. Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. One of the great, I heard it on Coach Carter, a little piece of it on Coach Carter, the movie. And I went and looked it up and I found the entire poem. And it said, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It's not our darkness that most frightens us. It's our light. Because who are you to be gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Who are you not to be? You're a child of God, right? And it says, a beautiful part, and it said, there's no use playing small so other people around you won't feel insecure. There's so many wisdom in this poem. It's crazy. So a lot of us, when we're climbing that mountain and we're doing our passion, it takes vulnerability, a lot of vulnerability, because you're raw, you're naked. You're not just doing a job, J-O-B, putting, no, nothing wrong with those who do. Some do and some don't. But you're not just doing a job, a heartless job. You're doing a passionate job. As you'd say, Ray, heart on fire. You're raw. When you're doing what you love, you are naked. You're naked to the world because it's a passionate thing. When I don't have any connection to the thing I'm doing, you can cut me up all you want. I just pass it on to somebody else. That's not what I want anyways. But the minute I start to do the thing that's specific or my DNA, within my DNA, that's really aligned with who I am so vulnerable. I'm so naked. So the more you sling arrows at me, it hurts even more. If I was doing a mundane job, it doesn't hurt because I got shield up. So that's why the top of that mountain is so small. So many, because as you climb, the more haters come out. They look for things. You can't be real. So I'm going to shake your tree a little bit. I'm going to shake your foundation. I'm going to see what you have. Either good friends too, by the way. Good people. As I said, Sam's neighbor, he looked and he checked. Man, that's my neighbor. He knows me. But he's in there saying the worst things. But you think about it, his neighbor doesn't want to make that climb. I don't know if you've heard the story or the wisdom that said, if I moved into a town and my ego says I want to build the tallest building, but I see there's a tall building in the town already. Well, I could be motivated by a tall building and really work hard and build a taller building. Or if I want the tallest building, guess what I can do? I can tear down that tall building and then there's not a lot of structures left. I can just build a semi-tall, but now it's the tallest building. So, when you look at haters, They don't want to build that tall building all the way. They want to, tear it down and then build something like it. But now it's the tallest because there's no other one to compete. So, crabs in a barrel. They don't like to see. And sometimes familiarity breeds contempt. When you're familiar with somebody, you think you know them. So I know Ray, I know Charlie. We've been hanging out for a while. Then they come to me and they tell me, Alvin, we've been comfortable. We've been vibing, all of us, and living at a certain level of standards in our life. And then one of you two clowns come and tell me you want to do something different and it's bigger. I'm like, what is this? Let me warn this guy about what's wrong with this. All right. Let me tell him the dangers of doing this, of leaving this tribe that we get, very comfortable tribe we have here. We've been vibing for years. What do you get? What's wrong with you, man? What are you trying to do here? Step out? Hey, Charlie, man, you didn't hear about this? There's a lot of people dying doing this thing. You can't be doing that, man. You know how many people are dying? Right? And I'm thinking to you, I'm hoping you think I'm being safe, but no, what it is, I'm protecting myself. Because you see, when Charlie comes to our group and he starts talking all this junk, now I got to go home and go, man, have I been playing small? Oh, he's making me uncomfortable. Now I got to look at myself. Shoot, I don't want to get out there. I'm going to tell him what's bad about it, that we can just chill out and I can go back to being comfortable. Because he's going to make me look at myself. So, it's a self-preserving thing that we have haters. We make them feel, and some people are sitting on their couch, especially today, behind a keyboard, living a life of quiet desperation, maybe even loud desperation. And I can get on a keyboard and bring you down and get hurt people, right? If you're hurting, you want to hurt somebody else. So if I'm in my dark basement, living in my mom's basement, I'm 30. Yeah, I'm gonna bring down this building, right? So I hear it all the time when I work with my high performers. They get hate constantly. The higher they climb, the more hate they get. They don't want to dissect your stuff, and you can't even have a pimple on your head. Look at that pimple. Oh my God, I can't believe they're on it. It's crazy, right? So, but here's the thing. As you said about LeBron and MJ, they keep stacking the hate and they keep stacking the wins. I mean, look at them. I mean, uh, I don't know what you measure success by, but I don't know, fame, fortune. They keep stacking them. You keep hating, they keep stacking. They're gonna, hey, whether you hate them or not, their name's coming out of your mouth. So call it what you want. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I don't want to sweeten the meal too much. Got more, and then always smile, man. That's incredible. It's simple, but it's not easy because when they attack your vulnerability and they attack so it's not easy to do that. Not easy to flip the script, but you just gotta smile because at the end of the day, good or bad, they're driving your algorithms, right? So I'll pass the meal over.
Great points, fellas. Great points as always. So something that, well, first, it doesn't look biologically possible for you to be in a relationship for 40 years. I'm just saying, you look like you're 40. So that's amazing. Yeah,
Appreciate you, brother.
Started in the crib. Yeah.
Appreciate it, brother.
They were arranged marriage.
That's
Put
right.
on the cribs next to each other.
Yeah.
These are the two, right?
Match the DNA, brother. Match the DNA. That's exactly. This chromosome look like it matches.
That's what it looks like. But
appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Goes on that. But one of the things Ray said was being thankful for the haters. And that reminded me of this Patrick Bet-David quote. He said that haters are the best free consulting you'll ever get. You don't have to pay a dime for that consulting. They're going to point out, all your flaws. That shirt didn't match, that shirt was faded, your audio, and then you can go and fix it. So there's that side of that I think definitely use the things that you can learn from haters to improve, right? So use that. And then the other piece of it is I love using them as fuel, right? I'm gonna work even harder. I'm gonna get even smarter to overcome these words, right? And also it feels good to disprove people when they've got a certain opinion about you. It feels good to disprove those opinions. So best free consultants out there. You never get an invoice, but you get all of these things that you can use. Improve your website, improve your audio, improve your video. You can improve. So that's a fantastic piece of it. And then I thought about this. Sir Edmund Hillary, first person, right? Him and his Sherpa Tenzing Norgay, first people to summit Mount Everest, make it down safely. Talk about it. No one had accomplished it before then, right? Hundreds of people up there encased in ice died trying. And he had a lot of haters, right? Naysayers. Well, why? Was his first career a mountaineer? No, he was a beekeeper. He was a beekeeper. Oh, what do you know about mountaineering? And again, this is what naysayers will do. They'll try to put us in that box. Well, this is all we can do. You're supposed to just do this one thing. And now he's expanding. He's going to try to accomplish something no one else. Who are you? Right? However, he didn't let them stop him, right? Maintain his vision. Now, first time he tried, failed. And that's a difficult thing, is when we're getting hate or people are saying negative things and then we fail, we've got to make sure that we don't let that be a confirmation of what the naysayers did. He didn't do that. Tried again. Guess what? Failed again. But one of his great quotes, and I'll paraphrase it, he said, the mountain, that's his challenge, right? He said, as a mountain, it can't grow. But as a human being, I can grow, right? And guess what? Third is history. He went up there and he made history. And so I think as human beings, we've got to take on those growth opportunities. Naysayers are going to challenge us to grow. And so that's another positive. And then I also thought about, and I actually keep this in my bag. So I have my bag that I travel with, it has my laptop in there, my backup phone. I got a GPS, I got a Garmin in there so that, if the mobile and the phone networks go down, I have my satellite Garmin. So that this bag never leaves my side when I travel, right? Everything I can get everything done for my presentations, everything's in that bag. Extra clickers, extra HDMI cables, all these things. And I even have a section in that bag, and it's all the cards that I've gotten over the years. It could be a note, it could be a card someone has given me that's positive. And if I ever feel in a down spot, sometimes I'll get those cards out and just read them. And when I read through those, I feel so much better about myself afterward. And then I have different quotes and different things that I've used over the years for my presentations. So I have this little stack, right? And I keep it in my bag. And sometimes I'll use bits and pieces of these in a presentation. Sometimes I might read directly from it, just depending. But this one here, this one travels with me all the time. There was a time in my life where I had this in my pocket. And every spare moment, I read it over and over again, because I was at a time where I just felt like I was being attacked. I just felt like unfairly. I felt like I had an inordinate amount of naysayers. And I remember being at a stoplight and I would read this and read it until I had it memorized. And most people are familiar with that, the man in the arena, right? That quote. Mm-hmm. However, and that was from Theodore Roosevelt, 26th president of the United States. What a lot of people aren't familiar with is there was a precursor to that. And I paraphrase it, I'm going to share it here. Mm-hmm. It said, the poorest way to face life is to face it with a sneer, a cynical habit of thought and speech, a readiness to criticize work which the critic himself never tries to perform, an intellectual aloofness which will not accept contact with life's reality. All these are marks, not of superiority, but of weakness. And then he goes on to It's not the critic who counts, right? It's not the person who points out how the strong person stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. Credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends themselves in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if they fail, at least they fail while daring greatly, so that their place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. Pass the mic.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You're gonna pass it like that, okay?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's how you're passing the mic,
Yeah,
huh?
I'm throwing that bad boy down. Yeah.
That's a
Throwing it
hot
down
mic.
like a gauntlet, you know.
That's a hot mic, Ray.
Man,
Be
yeah,
careful. Be careful.
that is a hot mic. And man, every words you said, man, it just struck, hit right at the right place for me. And I'll just go back to one thing you said, okay, about the story of the man who climbed Mount Everest. And people were basically asking him, "Who are you?" And yeah, I don't think they understand the power of just this question. Alvin said it, powerful beyond measure. That's who we are, you know? So what do you mean, who am I? Being afraid of climbing this mountain. I am this mountain when we're another, right? All of us, this is what we can be. So yes, who are you? Maybe that's a question we should ask ourselves much more. Maybe we don't ask ourselves that question enough. You know, whenever you feel stopped, whenever you're afraid of something, like deeply reflect on who are you. And you know what, guys? I'll go from the beginning. Okay, I'll go from the beginning with this. Okay, and whether you're a believer or not, I find this can be a good analogy. Okay, a very good analogy, and touch on what Alvin said and what Dr. Charlie said. Adam and Eve, right? So they were naked at first, correct? So we talked about being naked. When you're vulnerable, when you're fully being yourself, this is what happens. You're kind of naked. But they didn't have anything to hide, you know? They absolutely didn't have anything to hide. They lived in their truth, in their purest form. They were free, completely free. And then they ate that apple, okay? And ego kicked in, and doubt kicked in, right? And that's when the question's like, who are you? You can't do that, you know? But before that, they didn't even think about that. They just were, right? So they started feeling shame. They started, you know, pointing fingers. That's one of the first things that they did, right? Just like the haters, they point fingers. What are you doing? Can't do that. Oh, you're this, you're that, right? They started thinking that they know even better than God, right? That's what they started thinking. So what I even wrote this down, as we were talking, I was like, don't eat the apple of making yourself smaller than you are capable of being to be comfortable. Don't eat that apple.
Mhm.
Because would you rather be comfortable or would you rather be free? No. Would you rather be comfortable or free in your life? And that man in the arena, those women in the arena, they're free, you know. They're naked, but they're free. The haters in the end, they can be that also, but they live in a cage, you know. They live in a cage, and that would drive me nuts to live in a cage. That would totally change me also. That would probably make me bitter, you know. That would probably change completely what I can do. But man, if they could step out of that cage, maybe they'll find out who they truly are also. And maybe they'll appreciate that much more. You know, what other people are doing. And maybe that's what it's all about in the end. So I say, yes, ask yourself, who are you really? Are you that person who's scared, or in one time in your life were you very brave? What if that brave self is truly you? You know, that's just hidden away. If you were one time, you can be again. So now, as I dive even deeper and I think about this, I'm like, man, it's so cool to have haters in so many different reasons. Okay, because yes, I believe it's Alvin or Charlie that says it, but they are your best free consultants. Yeah. And anyone who wants to get better, anyone who's coachable, is seeking feedback. It's not running away from it. There's a big difference between someone who's motivated to achieve success and someone who's motivated to avoid failure. Okay. Both can be very, very talented, but if I want to avoid failure, I avoid anything negative coming my way because of my ego. I don't want to be told that I'm not good. I don't even want to face a situation where I can possibly lose. I want to make sure whatever's ahead of me is 100% a win. But you know what? I can't grow with that because I can't challenge myself. I can't go up to this mountain. I won't even try. I won't even try because when I look at it, I'm like, oh man, okay, this could happen here. This person died here. This, let me go back. But I can never find out who I truly am. You know, someone who's motivated to achieve success understands, okay, I'm going to get out there. I'm going to be completely vulnerable. I'm going to be completely naked, but I'm committed to keep going and see this through. Okay. See this through, see what it can teach me. I'm committed to be totally free, whether they like me or not, whether they agree with me or not. This is what my heart is on fire for, to pursue. Let me pursue it. Let me pursue it. So, haters, there's so much more for you to be mad at. Trust me, just be patient. Just watch. Okay. Just watch. It's just getting started, haters.
That's it.
So I'll pass the mic.
All right, all right, all right. So some great points here. I want to throw a couple more spices on this. So yeah, I love that. Haters are free consultants. I love it because if you were to pay a company, man, they would charge you a ton of money to look at your stuff as deeply. By the way, as deeply and intently as a hater would look, that's a lot of money, man. Because if they don't see what they want, they'll go searching back at your old stuff and just write it. And I mean, you can't even pay somebody to do that. Go that deep to show you how to get better. I mean, so amazing, free consultant, love it. And some people are driven in so many different ways. I'm also that guy who would put a chip on my shoulder. If someone hated me, because in my book, Journey to Personal Greatness, in the first part, I even said in my book, and that's written in 2015, I said, I want to thank all those people who doubted me because I actually write off of that. I write off of your doubt. And I'm quiet about it. Like, I'll go years, man. I don't even go overnight. I'll go years to make sure I shut it. I shut the door on that. So, I love that. They're put the chip on my shoulder. I love putting that chip. And taking it off. Michael Jordan was one of those guys. You could see him so competitive, right? He would create chips that are not even there. So people are driven in different ways, and if you're driven that way, listening, put the chip on your shoulder and go to work. So as Ray finished with, keep hating because I got more for you. I got more material for you, more resource. Naysayers will and can challenge us to grow. Yeah, absolutely. They can if you choose to look at it that way, right? So I'm gonna talk about my bodybuilding. So I'm into some of who you listening who don't know. I'm into bodybuilding and fitness arena for the last almost 30 years. Yeah, a few years away from 30 years in that arena. And I've worked with some of the best in the world in that industry. And I've been in the back end and, seeing behind the curtains. And if you go online and you take a look online, man, the haters online, what anybody who does this, they got to have a thick, thick skin because it's roids, you're on gear, this. They just rip them apart. You'd think, oh my God, who would even do this? Yeah, I would look like that if I'm on, like, even if you look in shape. People nowadays, people are saying, oh, what's your stack and all this, you can't even be in shape without somebody saying you're taking something. But here's the thing. It's such a funny thing. I sit back and I watch this. I go online, look at their comments, and they're just being torn apart. Oh, look, oh, if it's a female, she looks like a man, and all kinds of stuff. I go to the events though, the Arnold Classic, the Olympia, small shows, big shows, the crowds of people. It's amazing. I'm even surprised. These people lift weights, right? No, the crowds around the bend, people waiting an hour to get to sign this thing. I'm like, where are all these haters? I would never have suspected it would be like this. Right? So, and I've never seen one of them, one of those bodybuilders. I've never seen one dealing with somebody going, you're on steroids, buddy. You nothing. Zero. I hear nothing. I hear, hey man, can I take a picture with you? Where where are all these people? Like, there's last time I went to the Arnolds, which is pre-pandemic, the stats were 200,000 to 300,000 people go through the Arnolds on that weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And all those haters, did they actually come here? Like, so again, living lives of quiet desperation. They're behind that keyboard. When it's behind the keyboard, they can drop anything they want. They go there. And you know what's funny as I'm thinking about this and talking about this? Have you ever, I don't know if you ever gone, I look at comments. I do look at comments just to see the psychology behind it. And one of the things, when I see somebody come on and they're doing something controversial in a video, I go to the comments. And what does someone always say? I broke my neck running to these comments to check. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody post that. They go, I almost broke my neck running to these comments. Because a lot of people run to the comments. Why? Because they want to sit and watch these people get torn apart too. Almost like being in the Coliseum, right? Just watching the lions eat them. We used to gather. That's how haters used to do. They used to gather in the Coliseum and watch the arena, in the arena, watching the gladiator. See that? The gladiator, right? Watch the gladiator potentially being eaten by the lion, right? But that gladiator dared greatly and gallantly. And if that gladiator makes it, that gladiator is now a hero. If they make it, they're now a hero. However, the person in the stand goes home, again, living lives of quiet desperation. So, comfortable versus free. Ray brought that up. Oftentimes there's so many people in a corporate world, and then not everybody should be out there, mind you. I'm just going to start with that because I don't want to say this is a blanket statement. But oftentimes they often say the golden handcuff? Is that what they used to call the pension?
Yeah.
The golden handcuff. They used to give you that pension and you just give up your dream and come work for 35, 40 years. And give me all you got because they're going to give you the golden handshake. Or they give up their passion for a pension. I always wanted to do this, but this is safe, right? Comfortable. I got my check coming. I know. Let the owner, who I can complain about, go out and take the risk. I will. I'll collect the paycheck, but I will complain on the way while I'm doing it. Maybe even, at one point I might even sabotage this company if I don't like it, right? By saying how bad it is or whatever it might be, not being part of the solution. So it's everywhere, right? So then I move to this point of, is the fear people feel often a fear of failure. A lot of people say, I'm just afraid of failing. I like to be a perfectionist. Well, I don't know. Is it fear of failure? Or is it fear of success? For everything we just talked about for this entire time now we've been talking, that's a lot of great reasons not to go out and pursue something. Who wants anybody attacking them? Especially today, people have death threats today. Like people get really brave today. Who want their faults being their laundry being put out? You know what I mean? Who wants any of that? Who wants to leave themselves vulnerable? So, and here's the other part. With great power comes great responsibility. I can sleep until whenever time. I can be really, really comfortable if I don't pursue. It's very comfortable, quote unquote, but we lead lives of quite desperation, as Ray touched on, I think, behind the cage. And this is something I'm always saying. We complain about these stars, celebrities getting millions, like Jason Tatum just signed for 62 million a year. Yeah, like 62 million a year. But we complain, oh, why are these guys? Oh, but where's the jersey? Let me go grab the jersey. Let me go get a season's tickets. Why? Because we're celebrating him, man. We're celebrating him for going out and living his life. So we paid him. Complain, but we paid him because we get to live behind, vicariously through them. So we pay them and complain though, but we pay them. Looking at the mountain with fear and going back, as you talked about the climbers. The problem is when you go back, you can only go back so many times without going forward because time ticks on. And the more times we keep going back down the mountain, there's a day when you can't go up anymore. You just physically can't go up anymore. So now you have unfinished business that you can't finish. So, either you proceed, advance, or you go back and live in that quiet desperation mode. Right? So choose your pain, as Jim Rohn would say. You can have the discipline weighs ounces and regret weighs tons. All right. We can live the life of discipline, the discipline of avoiding this food or getting up early or whatever it might be, or the regret that we got to live with, which weighs tons. For again, there's gonna be a time when we can't go up that mountain. Whether your heart says let's do it, your mind says let's do it, but physically, you just can't make that climb. You can't ascend. So deal with that. And so that is what I want to add to that meal, brothers. I pass the mic.
Wow. Lots of power in these quotes, these wisdoms that you all are putting down this morning. So I wrote this down. The Ray said, are we motivated to achieve success, or are we motivated to avoid failure? Right? That's really big, and I think that's that playing it safe that you talked about there, Alan. When people are avoiding failure, and when I look at it, avoiding failure is really impossible, right? Because by refusing to pursue your passion, by refusing to pursue your dream, that is failure. So you didn't avoid it, right? You failed by default because you didn't even try, right? Not even trying is failure by default. Again, you know what Theodore Roosevelt said in that quote was so powerful. at least they fail while daring greatly, so that their places shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. And so why not? I mean, why not live your best life, whatever that version is, whatever that is? Why not pursue that? There's no reason not to. And because either way, we're going to look back, and I definitely want to look back and feel good about not only what I accomplished, but what I have attempted. And I think everyone would be that way in their final days, looking back at their life and saying, you know what, I'm pleased with what I was able to achieve, and we're all going to fall short in some area, but I think the ultimate short is letting people talk us out of our dreams, right? Talk us out of them, and for whatever their reasons are, we may never know. So it's just interesting because it's a really easy path to let someone else's opinion of you become your reality. And I think we see it happen every day. You're not, you're not, your vision is flawed. Your vision doesn't make sense. Your vision isn't practical. You know, everyone's familiar. I have my Garmin watch. It's in the other room. I have my Garmin watch. I have my Garmin device. Everyone's familiar with Garmin. And a lot of people aren't familiar with the genesis of that company. And again, two gentlemen that work for another company and went to leadership with these ideas and were dismissed. And now that's one of the most successful, profitable organizations in the world, not just the United States, in the world, because they didn't let someone talk them out of their dreams, right? And the founders, it's interesting because that's where the name came from. I'm going to look it up real quick. The founders of Garmin. Men, and I'm probably going to butcher his last name. His last name is spelled K-A-O. So Men Cow, I'm guessing, and Gary Burrell. So they took the G-A-R off of Gary and off his first name and took Men's first name and combined it, Garmin. That's where the name came from. And they had a dream, they had a vision. And it's an amazing place. I know some people that work there. It's a great organization to work for. It's a debt-free organization, and an organization is worth several $billion. And I remember at the outset of the pandemic when there was a shutdown, right? They sent an email to every one of their employees that said, hey, if we can't do business this year, we can pay you for the next 9 months. So don't worry. And that turned out to be their most profitable year in their history, by the way. But they sent an email out early on in the shutdown and said, you're good for 9 months. Then we'll have to look at things. So that's what pursuing your vision looks like. Otherwise, they could have just sat at their desk and took no for an answer and collected their pensions. With that, I'll pass the mic.
It's so I find it's so true that avoiding failure is impossible, yet we're naturally geared to spend all of our efforts and make it a mission in our lives to do everything in our power to avoid failure, which is impossible. We're all gonna fail, right? It's part of it. So I say let's flip that. Again, when we study people who are in the arena, okay, those people that inspire us, those people that really go after it, that live it, I find it so important, in fact, to prepare yourself to fail so you can put yourself in a position to win. That's really what it is, right? Prepare yourself to fail so you can put yourself in a position to win. That's the key. Because as we said, we're gonna fail. Now, why do certain people fail and keep moving forward? and some others fell and crumbled down and go back into hiding. Like those guys from Garmin, it probably sucked. They were super inspired. They brought it to leadership. They were committed to that organization. They're like, hey, we want to contribute. We want to help this grow. And they're just shut down. And I don't know the situation. Maybe they gave everything they had for that business. And then, man, the light, the lights just went on. Like, what are we doing here? We can't do this by ourselves. And that's what happened. But they didn't go back into hiding. They kept going. How and why? Maybe that's the question, right? Maybe that's why it's so important to surround yourself with the right people. Maybe that's why it's so important to do the work, to do the personal work every single day, because this is what fuels you. This is what gives you the energy. This is what gives you the perspective, okay? The perspective, the clarity, the courage, the strength, everything you need, really, that when you face that failure, you understand, oh, I've been prepared for this. It's part of the process. It hurts, but it's an opportunity. I get to see it as an opportunity. If I'm not prepared, it's going to break me, you know? It's going to break me. So that's really the key, I find. Prepare yourself to fail. That's where the game is played, and that's how you can win. And also, okay, if we look deeper, I find that we talk about haters, right? But what we fail to see too often is that haters don't only hate on other people, they hate on themselves. They hate on themselves. And imagine if your biggest hater is yourself. Man, that's the biggest barrier to personal growth. And that's the biggest barrier to happiness. And when we look at haters, when we read those comments, these people aren't happy, saying this, right? So I just say be careful, because there's this wisdom, right? That says that you are what you repeatedly do. You are what you repeatedly do. So be careful on hating other people, because it creates a pattern. Okay. It creates a pattern. If you're always hating on other people, you're most likely gonna hate on yourself also. Because that's what you do. That's your pattern. And you can't grow. You can't grow like that. You can't be happy like that. Well, if you encourage people, if I'm super happy for Alvin's success, if I'm super excited, genuinely excited for Charlie's success, this is the state I'm in. I'm looking now for things to learn, for things to take in, for opportunities. I'm not being jealous. I'm not being this, that, right? It's a matter of perspective. So that's what I wanted to add to the conversation is, if you're hating on other people, you're most likely hating on yourself. And then prepare yourself to fail. Stop thinking about just winning, winning, winning. That's a byproduct of failing first. And the only ones who are in that position, man, they're prepared. They're ready. They're ready to face that failure with enthusiasm, okay, with persistence, with everything they need to jump over it and now face the next mountain. But jump over it and face the next mountain. And next thing you know, you're excited, and you're going to Africa now, to speak your truth, to speak your message. So pass the mic.
All right. Okay, there it is. Just in time, because I found the quote I was looking for. He just dropped it. You just dropped it, and I have to drop it back. Hang on 1 second here. All right. So I love what Dr. Charlie said. He said something deep. He said failure. And I wrote
Wow.
here, he said avoiding failure. I wrote here, there's two kinds of failures. There's a passive failure and an active failure. Passive failure is I don't want to be hurt, so I'm not going to attempt. I'm not going to move forward and do my dream. But you're passively failing. Next thing you know, the years, decades stack up, and now you're feeling the deep pain of not moving forward. And then there's the active failure, quote unquote. When you look back and you went, oh man, I attempted to go to the Olympics. I attempted to go to the top of the mountain, but I actually didn't make it. But man, look around me. I am sitting at the table with some great people who also recognize and celebrate me because of my attempt. And, or, yeah, time has passed and I passively failed. No one, I'm invisible to those around me. I haven't used it up, my gifts. And we go back to the parable of the talents as we talk about that, right? That the story of how the king gave his three servants the gift. Left them a treasure and said, I'll be back and I'll collect when I'm back. And he came back, and one servant said, hey, here you go. I took what you left me and I went out and multiplied it. I brought back two. Oh, amazing. Next one. Oh, I did the same and I doubled it. I'm awesome. The other one said, well, I buried it in the ground so it would be safe. So when you get back, and then he basically shunned that servant and shut him out of the village. Why? Because he tucked his talents in the ground and didn't do anything with it. So that's almost like our return to our creator when we go back and say we didn't do anything with it. So, same thing there. You will rarely, I wrote here, you will really ever look back and say, man, I'm so glad I didn't attempt that thing. There's some things you will avoid doing. That's awesome, but you avoid doing them while being active. But there's no way you're going to say, I'm a singer and I'm so glad I didn't do that audition and went for that thing. I'm so glad I avoided the 10 auditions. And now time has passed. There's no way. There's no way I don't secretly think he'll do that. Or you look back at it and go, man, I tried out 10 times for that show and I didn't make it. But god dang, I'm an agent now, or I'm a blank now, or something. You know what I mean? There's something going to spin off from it. And I wrote down here the classic cliche, the light bulb. 999 times before I discovered the 1,000th time the light bulb. We can use that metaphor. We've all heard it before, I think. Yeah. You didn't fail. You just found 999 ways how to get to the success. Boom. Fail forward. Fail forward. All right. And is there really failure if you're moving forward? Failure is actually when you stop short. When you stop short. I look back now as you guys are bringing this up, and I was saying this on a video to my clients and said somewhere. I attempted. This is going to be, when I started being an entrepreneur, and I say that when I meant hiring people and expanding and scaling, I took 17 to 20 years to grow this business, and it didn't grow the way I wanted to grow. So as we speak, as of this recording, I'm downsizing, perfect sizing, I'm going to call it, actually. I'm perfect sizing my business. And I've now dashed away that vision of scaling up to 5, 6 locations all over the world because it wasn't what I was meant to do. I was meant to coach, write, speak, connect with my private clients, and really speak into people, not run a business per se where I'm managing or whatever it is that happened. It wasn't meant for me. So did I fail? No. It took me a long time though to find out what I should have been doing. But I wouldn't have found it out if I didn't attempt and approached. So there's never any failure, quote unquote. And lastly, I'll finish with this. Well, a couple of them here. The one I'm downloading when I was finished here, it says, I'll go to Winston Churchill apparently said, success consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. All right. And lastly, we fail on ourselves. A lot of times we will blame someone for our failure. Or if you're the type, some people are external motivated. They need, boosting by others. And they live and die by the opinions of others. And some people are internally driven. Right? They get motivated internally. They don't need any outside boosting. But a lot of times when we look in the mirror, the only place you have to look for that failure is inside. Because no one else, really and truly, it's almost when you make a mistake on stage, if you keep going, nobody knows you made a mistake. But the only person that knows is you. And so the only person that knows you failed, quote unquote, is you. Because everybody else, if you didn't give up, they go, oh, must have been 999 times. They found a way. But if you fail, you got to be the one who knows you failed. You stopped. So anyways, it's a great conversation we're having about that whole thing and haters. And then it spilled back to the idea that failure, don't lose enthusiasm. You got to go from one, quote unquote, and the word is I quote it because you only fail when you stop. So just keep going from opportunity to opportunity without losing enthusiasm, because you're going to find the right way to what works. And I can look at Dr. Charlie as a testament to that. I look at Ray as a testament to that. Brandon, when he's here, as testament to that. That you just, as I heard a quote that apparently the Crips or a gang members use. They said, "We don't stop until the casket drops." Right? And I love that quote. That's never stop, man, till it's over. All right. I'm gonna pass that mic.
All right. Yeah, I've got one quick story here at the end, and it's one of the favorite stories I love to use at conferences when I speak at, because regardless of where we're at personally or professionally, we're all going to have to overcome failure. I mean, that's inherent in our DNA, and it's inherent in the human experience. And so this Olympic year, and I enjoy the track and field, not the swimming and some of that stuff so much, but track and field, I really enjoy that because I used to participate that when I was in that sport and when I was growing up. So I enjoy the track and field. And I found this story of an Olympian out of Spain, right? A female high jumper. Her first name is Ruth. Her last name is spelled Beitia. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but a really interesting Olympic story. So first time she made the team was in 2004. She's 25 years old, and she got 16th place. She made the team again in 08, 4th place, which I understand is one of the worst places to end up in the Olympic sports, right? 2012, 4th place again. 2016, she became the oldest Olympian in history to win a medal in any jumping event. At 37 years old, she won the gold.
Mm-hmm.
She won the gold.
Mm-hmm.
So how many people would have the fortitude to show up at 4 different Olympics? And the older you get, let's face it, your odds of winning are declining, right? Because you're not at your athletic peak. But there's something to be said, the mindset. There's something to be said for the will, right? Will over skill.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll pass the mic.
Will over skill. Yeah, the last thing I wanted to touch on real quick is yeah, that going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm, right? Uh, how important that is. And of course, but how do we do that? How do we do that? That's really my question. So I wrote down a couple of things, and I wrote down, well, find what builds your enthusiasm for failing. Start with that. So I always like to think, follow the energy. What gives you energy? What takes away your energy? Something that gives you energy clearly matters to you. And if it matters to you, maybe it's worth, you know, failing for it or trying, right? So find what builds your enthusiasm for fail. Second, I wrote down, find a purpose for failing. Maybe something that's bigger than you, something that pulls you, something that's connected to a deep why, right? To a deep why. You know, I always think about this. I tell my son about this and I reflect on it myself all the time, but I'm like, my son is funny. He's afraid, my oldest son, he's afraid to walk downstairs because it's dark. Okay, because it's dark. And I'm giving him all kinds of tips. And what he does right now is really, really funny, but hey, it works. He will turn the lights off, okay? And then I'll tell him, in over the weekend, we have this thing where at any moment I can tell him, okay, go down to your room, get a toy, and come back up. You know, and he knows he has to stop what he's doing. He has to go down to his room, get whatever, and come back up. So as he walks down the stairs, he says out loud, God is with me. God is with me. God is with me. He just does that. But he walks downstairs, picks up his toys, comes back up, and he's super happy, right? He's like, I did it. He's so happy, right? And I always tell him, hey, it's okay to be scared. I mean, that's normal. That's normal to be afraid. Just remember, you have to be a little bit more braver than you're afraid. That's it. You know, that's it. So that's the purpose he found. You know, that's what gives him a little bit more courage, right? And it works for him right now. Ultimately, it will be built in and you won't have to think about it, right? But it's really funny because every time he does that, me and my wife are just looking at each other, smiling, laughing. But hey, he does it, right? So super proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe we should do a lot more of that ourselves. Just find whatever it is that gives you just that hint of extra belief in yourself, of extra courage, whatever it is, you know, so that you can find that purpose in failing and have that enthusiasm for failing. And that's how you can keep going forward without losing your enthusiasm.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, as I go around, how you feel? I'm feeling full. How about you guys? You feeling full? I think the meal has
always.
I think the meal has been prepped properly. All right. So with that, listeners, we talked about haters. We began with haters. we transition into courage and persistence and failure. We dissected it. It's a lot of meat on the bone there. And we're going to hand it to you. Hope you enjoyed the meal. Hope the soul food does what it nourishes the soul. If you know anyone who needs to hear this, who is in that place where they're at a fork in the road and they're looking to quit on themselves, maybe one, my mentor and Dr. Charlie's mentor, Dr. Tom Hill, I'll shout him out. He left me with this wisdom. He said, one idea, well executed, can change your life forever. So out of this 50, 60 minutes that we spent together, is there one idea that you can execute on, that you can share, that can change somebody's life? So remember to like, subscribe, and share. And you can reach Dr. Charlie, Ray. I'll put their information in the bio, and you can reach them as well and follow them and see their journey as well. So, fellas, we always finish with this. Our three affirmations and three wishes for you. And the first one is, we wish you peace. We send you love. And we want to sprinkle a little soul in your life. All right. That's it, everybody. All right. What's a one word? We also leave it a one word that we're going to execute on over the next week. Dr. Charlie, what's your one word?
Believe.
Believe. Done. Love that. Ray.
I'll go with 2 words. That's right. I'll go with I am. I am. If I remember that in that moment when I'm afraid to fail, I can remember that there's no such thing as failure.
Yeah.
If I keep going, if I don't stop, there's no such thing as failure.
And I will leave it 3 words then of my favorite poem, Our Deepest Fear. Find out what that is, because it isn't failure, and it isn't the darkness. So, all right, everybody, until next time, we wish you all a great week. We wish you peace, love, and soul. All right, we're out.